Whenever you hear about somebody who's got, ridiculous amounts of money, their values are different than your values. You should be concerned about their agenda. I'll be sad as my brain gets less capable. That disappoints me.
Tell me one behavior we all should adopt.
That's a big part of my success.
Richest and most powerful men in the world.
Bill Gates has unleashed a technological revolution that has changed our lives.
Bill Gates of 25 and Bill Gates of 70.
In my 20s, being a maniac was the right thing. Smart people and moving them.
In India, before we start today's episode, all I want to say is thank you to each and every one of you. I'm really grateful that we were able to sit down with one of the most influential men in the world, the Bill Gates. I have been this young boy who always used to hear stories about this man, about the kind of money he has made, the kind of lives he's impacting, the kind of things he's building through Microsoft. From there to be sitting in front of him, it was surreal. When I started the conversation, you could see it on my face that I was really nervous, really scared. I didn't know what to talk about. But as we went in the conversation, the podcaster in me took over and we spoke about his fears, his misunderstandings, the mission, and what is he doing today. Today, I want you to see this episode from a lens of a 20-year-old sitting with Bill Gates and figuring out what goes on in his brain. This episode is truly special because I could have never thought that Bill Gates will be on our podcast this soon in our journey. I always had a belief that we will be able to sit down with the smartest people around the world. But it'll happen this soon. I can't believe this right now. I just want you to enjoy this episode the way I did. I want you to sink in that this is happening because it's not sinking in with me. And I just want to tell you that there are more episodes coming, so keep supporting us and hit the subscribe button right now. Welcome on Figuring Out, sir. I'll tell you a little story. So during the pandemic, me and my sister, we were watching the Netflix documentary, Inside Bill's Brain. And halfway through it, I told my sister that, hey, you know what? Like one day I'll sit with Bill Gates and I'll directly speak to him and get inside his brain. And just randomly, and she was laughing. So this one's for you.
You did it.
Yeah, I don't know how it just came out of my mouth and it's happening today. Well, you've come to India quite often. Tell me something that you've observed about India, which a lot of people don't know about.
Well, people probably, because they're here all the time, they probably don't recognize how much things have changed. If you go away and come back, then you see, wow, the level of entrepreneurship and it's pretty fantastic. We've been here originally because a lot of the health challenges were here, and we still care a lot about that. But now a lot of our invention is being done here. Well, vaccines, obviously, we have some incredible partnerships, but it's broadening to, better seeds, better diagnostics for health or education. So the innovation ecosystem has really exploded, and that's going to be great for India.
So when you meet other leaders around the world, or when you meet your billionaire friends, what's the first thing you tell them about India? Is it the same thing, what you just told me?
It's, we've had such a great experience. I encourage people to come and tap into the great things going on.
Is there anything specific you tell them?
Well, my connection with India goes all the way back to the Microsoft days when, we at first would hire people from India and bring them to the United States. And both the United States and India were kind of mad at us because we were taking, the smart people and moving them. And, then they came back here to India and created the Microsoft India work, which has, been absolutely fantastic. Up until the year 2000, I mainly knew the tech scene. So, a lot of Bangalore, Hyderabad, seeing the country more broadly, that's in my foundation work. So, Bihar, UP, seeing, where we could partner and help with things. I still want to take more vacation here. I've done it a little bit, but there's a lot of great places in India that I haven't been to.
Talking about Microsoft and taking people from here to US, people like Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, there have been incredible CEOs around the world. Why do you think India is becoming a global talent capital for the world? Do you think anything special here which is out there?
20% of the world's people live here in India. And India's had a particular emphasis on, engineering, software, and turned out a lot of top people. And so when you get people like Sundar, Satya, who are both great at engineering and at management, that's a magic combination. And, so they, these companies, are looking anywhere in the world to find that mix. And, so India's getting about its fair share of those top leadership positions. And, it partly comes from having great universities, not just the IITs, but starting with them.
So talking about Indian talent, you do a lot of philanthropy work here, and you've met a lot of talented people here, a lot of rich people here as well. You believe that all the money that rich people have, or like people who have made wealth for themselves, they should use it for charity work, they should pledge it. In India, usually a lot of people believe that as parents, it's their duty to save everything for their kids, for the inheritance, right? Like the kids will get everything. What do you think is the right mindset? Using all the money for pledging and giving it back to the society, or giving it to the children?
Well, I think, everybody gets to decide on that. In my case, my kids got a great upbringing and education, but, less than 1% of the total wealth, because I decided it wouldn't be a favor to them. It's not a dynasty. I'm not asking them to run Microsoft. I want to give them a chance to have their own earnings and success, be significant and not overshadowed by the incredible luck and good fortune I had. I think the people who've made fortunes from technology are less dynastic. They'll even, take their capital and give a lot of that away. You can have a view of giving away your capital or just giving away your earnings. And of course, I love all philanthropy, but the tech sector is probably the most aggressive about, giving most of it away.
In other sectors, you have not seen that in any other kind of industry where people try to give?
Not to the same degree. It tends to be giving more, giving some portion of the profit as opposed to the actual base capital.
In India, a lot of kids also fight with their parents on inheritance. Have your kids ever spoken to you and be like, hey, why are you not giving us everything or anything? Has it ever happened?
You don't want your kids to ever be confused about your support for them and your love for them. And so I do think explaining early on your philosophy, that you're going to treat them all equally, and that you're going to give them incredible opportunities, but that, the highest calling for these resources is to go back. I hope they're very proud of the foundation. And so, I've seen cases where kids actually tell their parents to be more philanthropic. I think the younger generation sometimes actually is pushing against this idea of the wealth just being passed down mostly. So it's every family's a bit different.
I have last question on India, and then we'll get to the foundation work and try to understand you as well. If you get an opportunity to invite 3 Indians for dinner, dead or alive, who would they be?
Well, I get to spend time with, some incredible people in India, and, I get time with the Prime Minister and understand his vision and how we fit into that, this, 2047 thing that, everything is lining up to try to achieve that. I get to meet, there was a great scientist, Raj Shamani, who created the Department of Biotechnology. There was a mathematician, Ramanujan, who I would have loved to have met him, because he was almost mysterious how he was so genius at what he was able to do. I got to work with Ratan Tata. I'm getting to work with all of the amazing philanthropists and a lot of the innovators here. I get to see small companies early on. I just went through some of these companies using AI in health, some for-profit, a few nonprofit. We had a great 25-year celebration, and this great sitar artist, came, and that was a pretty special thing. Nice. So it'd be hard for me to pick. There's so many incredible talents.
You can't pick three.
I think I defend some people by not including them.
Fair. Okay, you were talking about small companies. If you were to start something from zero in India today, where would you put most of your time? And what's the first step you'll take?
Well, you'd mostly start a company because you think you enjoy working on something and you think you have a world-class understanding of, a unique contribution. For me, that was software. For this day and age, if you think you understand, fusion, that's great. If you're successful, which that's risky, you could really improve the world. AI is sort of today's equivalent of what I did when I was young. To see the possibilities are unlimited. And so, I'd probably be doing one of these new AI companies if I was starting out today.
Do you still feel there's a lot of opportunities in AI to build something as significant as what you've built, or it's pretty late?
Well, the big companies are putting a lot of money into it. And the number of companies globally is huge. I mean, many people didn't even know these Chinese companies were doing all this work, and yet, some of the best results over the last 6 months have come from 3 or 4 of the models there. So it's not, when I got going in computing, it was a very small set of people, and people thought we were crazy that we set a computer on every desk and a computer in every home. And that just seemed strange to people because they couldn't see they didn't get software, and they didn't get the exponential improvement of the chips was making computing, basically free. So I'd say it's tougher to get out in front. NVIDIA, is almost as valuable as Apple and Microsoft, and yet, came into prominence only really in the last 5 or 6 years, although they're about 15 years old. So there are opportunities, and there will be some new companies that use AI to achieve unbelievable success, but it'll be, 2 or 3 out of 10,000. And, would I be able to do that again? Hard to say.
You talked about, like, when you started, a lot of people thought that, oh, what are you doing? This is some random thing these guys are trying to do. They may be stupid. They may be thinking too big. And over the time, every time you do something big, usually people do not understand you, or anyone, like not just you, like whoever wants to start something new and big. In today's world, or as of today, what's the biggest misunderstanding about you? What do you think? What do people misunderstand about Bill Gates?
Well, whenever you hear about somebody who's got, some degree of power or, ridiculous amounts of money, you might think they have grand schemes. There's almost a sense that, they're their values are different than your values, and that you should be concerned about their agenda. Hopefully for the people who actually do know me, and how much I love, I work with my friends or my kids, it's very different from the people who just think, he's one of these guys who's, pushing levers and has too much money and too much authority.
So that people misunderstand about you. And talking about misunderstanding, have you made any major mistake that people don't know about?
Well, some of my mistakes are very public. I mean, Microsoft, we had lots of products that didn't work. We did a phone operating system, and now, Android, took that position. So I certainly, messed that up in a huge way. We often have multiple plans. We wanted to have an HIV vaccine. We don't have that yet. We're working on a very cheap toilet, but it's still too expensive. We don't have polio eradication done. I'm still very committed to that, but it's taking a lot longer than we thought it would.
So talking about foundation work, you've impacted millions of lives, and you spend a lot in making people's life better. What's your biggest challenge today? Because somebody who's watching this might think that at your level, with so much power, influence, money, you can actually fix a lot of problems. What do you think is your problem? Like, what challenges do you see here?
Well, I love the scientific challenges. I mean, we still don't fully understand malnutrition. We have some tools to reduce it, that it's super exciting. But, I'm really pushing our research workers hard that, okay, we need to know more about that. I do think getting money to help the very poorest countries, a lot of which are in Africa, Asia, many of the countries are having good economic growth, and Africa has a lot of unique governance or instability or disease challenges. And so telling people they should, help out other humans, even though they're far away and speak a different language, that's not as easy as I thought it would be. Right now, some of the rich countries, including my country, are cutting their aid budgets. And I'm very disappointed. To me, that's not, the golden rule of treating people like you'd like to be treated.
So what do you think all the people who are watching this, including me, young people should do so that we could convince more people to help other people?
Well, when you're young, if you're here in India, you can probably travel, some modest distance, an hour or two, and see people, who don't have the same opportunities you do, that, they're smart, but their school's not good, or, they get some health problem and they're not able to access things. I would say in India, programs like the Aspirational District Program, India does talk openly about the places that are the worst off. And that's pretty impressive. Even issues like sanitation that most governments, you wouldn't catch them talking about toilets. Yeah. This country, took on a pretty aggressive plan and made a lot of progress on that. So you can go out and see people and develop empathy without going too far.
And you spent hours and hours and days in this country. You spent millions on vaccines and trying to take care of healthcare challenges. What's one problem you feel that money cannot fix?
There's a lot of talk about obesity. And, when I saw the Prime Minister, he was talking about various yoga type things that, if people would adopt those. But it's been hard. Not many countries have gotten the behavior change.
Yeah.
Maybe India can pioneer some approaches there.